I still don't like the way that microphone is set up. It's like half the screen.
It's right in your face.
Yeah.
Oh, you are cranky. All right. That's okay. I can deal with it. So you're drinking coffee. I'm drinking a little wine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling good.
What kind of wine?
It's called... it's a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called Beringer.
Oh, yes. Californian.
Yeah. You've had it.
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's a nice kind of upper middle tier. Middle tier. Kind of like a $20 a bottle sort of range.
Yeah, it's great. It's a good wine. I like it.
And there's higher levels of it as well. But yeah, I know it. It's a nice wine.
Mm-hmm. You know that I'm a big fan of J. Lohr as well.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't know that they made a Pinot Noir, so I picked it up the other day because I've been drinking their Cabernet Sauvignon for a long time. And yeah, they make a Pinot Noir. It's good. It's very tasty.
J. Lohr is also Californian, right?
Yes, it is. I am very partial to California wines. Fell in love like a long time ago. So I have three kind of go-tos. I like California. That would be my absolute favorite. Followed very closely by Chilean wines. Followed very closely by Australian wines. So,
yeah, Australian wines are very popular here in Asia due to the proximity.
Right. Yeah, you're closer for sure.
Some are better than others, but actually in Tokyo, wine is reasonably priced.
Okay.
But if you go to places like Singapore, wine is not reasonably priced.
Interesting.
It's ridiculously expensive. They really nail you in Singapore on anything that's imported, especially alcohol.
Well, it's a tricky game, the alcohol game, which I know nothing about. So really what I just said is complete bullshit. I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you want to talk about today? What do you have in mind?
I don't know if it'll change my mood much, but maybe we talk about my procedure.
Oh, okay. We can talk about your procedure. Yeah, fire away on your procedure.
You asked me about it, and I'll tell you.
Oh, okay. All right. So you and I have talked about this before a little bit because I had been interested in, well, we're both getting to that age of like, you kind of have to wonder about what's going on inside your body.
Yes.
And one of the things that they recommend as you approach the age of 50, which we both aren't, but we're getting toward that age, is the colonoscopy. Mm-hmm. And so you had mentioned recently that you had a colonoscopy, and I had said that I was thinking about probably getting one at some point in the very near future. And you proceeded to then tell me all about your procedure. So, by the way, I'd just like to say the word procedure is something that old people say. So, like you don't. It's something that my grandfather would say. Oh, I went to the hospital for a procedure, and this is just like it's a blanket statement that covers everything invasive, right? It could be. Someone looked at your eye to someone stuck a camera up your arse and had a look around.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, so we had talked about your quote-unquote procedure, and I asked you some questions, and I'm going to ask you those questions again because it was fun to listen to. So, all right. So, tell me about, I know that they give you something to sort of evacuate everything inside of you before you go to the hospital. Tell me about that experience.
All right. Well, first of all,
what did they give you?
Okay, let me back it up just a bit. So, as I've learned as I've gotten older, typically the age where a man typically, and actually I have to say I don't know if this includes women or not. I mean, women can get colonoscopies. Women and men both have colons, but...
Wait, what? I didn't know that.
So...
Okay, continue.
You have... The typical time for a male to undergo a colonoscopy is about the age of 50.
I think they recommend that, yeah.
That's the recommended time. Now, if you have a genetic any history in the family of colon cancer or colon issues, the recommendation is that you potentially go sooner than that. Or if you have symptoms of any sort that could potentially be related to the colon, that you could have a colonoscopy to rule out or get a better look at what's going on inside. So as a matter of practice, most men should be starting at age 50 to getting this done, unless they, as I said, have a genetic disposition potentially to something colon related like colon cancer or polyps, that they should get checked out sooner. So in my case, I was feeling symptoms, pains in my stomach and kind of in the area of the colon, and went to see a doctor about it, and they said, they gave me a physical inspection. They felt my stomach, and they said, it feels fine. Everything feels normal, but I think it would be a good idea that you undergo one of these undergo a colonoscopy, because I'm 47, so I'm not 50 yet, but I'm getting close, and we might as well.
Okay, wait, hold on 1 second. What kind of pains?
Pains like little. They vary actually. Sometimes they're little prickly pains, like prickles. Sometimes like little tiny electric shocks. Sometimes like someone's taking like maybe a pencil inside with a sharp tip to it, and kind of just not stabbing away, but just poking and prodding inside your belly.
And are these symptoms of that kind of thing? Like
symptoms of what?
I don't know. Symptoms of having polyps, or symptoms of having like some kind of a colon issue.
Yeah, they can be. Polyps, I don't think, unless they're really big, don't really exhibit any symptoms. They're generally.
I ask these questions because I don't know.
Yeah, and it's good.
Genuinely don't know.
And I want people to know about this. I want people that are listening to hear about this, because I want to demystify it a little bit, and just point out how important this really is. And anyway, so yeah, little sharp pains. Sometimes it would feel like indigestion. Sometimes it would feel like almost like muscle cramping, or muscle pull, like after you did an ab workout, how you have that sore belly or sore ab muscles. So similar to that. It would move all over the place. It was everywhere. So it wasn't like one specific spot. So anyway, I went for the procedure, and this seems to be the year of the colonoscopy, because I know at least 3 other people who've had them in the last few months. So I've heard varying details about what's involved. I really wasn't, and most people said, "Oh, it's not a big deal. It's pretty standard procedure," as you said.
You have to say it the right way. Procedure. Anyway, go on.
And so I decided, what have I got to lose? I've had these pains for a while now, and I thought, let's just do this. It's the one thing they haven't looked at. I've had CAT scans, I've had ultrasounds, I've had various other things I'll spare the audience of, but
I'm totally interested.
Well, I'll share it with you another time. And anyway, so went in for the procedure. Okay, so I think that was your question, right? So actually, what was your original question?
So my original question was, they give you something before you go in, so you don't shart all over the table, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
they evacuate everything inside of you, and apparently it's a pretty potent mix, whatever it is that they give you.
Yeah, so I don't want to gross everybody out, but again, I think it's important to kind of understand this stuff. First,
who cares? Gross everybody out.
All right. First of all, it's all very normal. What they basically give you is a laxative, and you take something at night before you go to bed. It's
like a drink, though, right?
Yeah, it's a little drink the night before with water. I seem to remember. And then the next morning, and you can't eat anything, I think, after 8 o'clock the night before. And I've read up on this. I think everybody, there's slight differences to how these procedures happen, or how the prep for this happens. But Anyway, it's a laxative the night before, and then in the morning they give you this bag with powder in it, and it's got these measuring levels on it. And what you do, actually, you're supposed to do this the night before, is you fill the bag bit by bit. You shake it, add more water, shake it, add a bit more water, shake it until you get up to 500 milliliters or whatever it is. And then you close up the bag and put it into the refrigerator overnight. The next morning you get up, and at about 8 a.m., you're supposed to start drinking a certain amount of this every 10 minutes until it's gone. So it works out to maybe an hour worth of drinking this thing in increments.
Okay.
And yeah, at first you're like, I don't really notice anything. Nothing's happening. And then eventually, yeah, you just start needing to go to the bathroom. And what it's really doing, and they give you this kind of gross color chart of what you're what you're depositing is
I love it.
supposed to look like.
That's fantastic.
I don't have any pictures here, unfortunately, to share with you. But basically, It goes from a dark color down to like a light yellow.
So you want to go from like dark poop to almost no color at all?
Like a light yellow, almost like pea looking.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And that takes it's done over about 2 hours. I think they say about 6 or 7 times you'll go to the bathroom. And
now, can you go to work when you're doing this, or is this something that you've got to have a day off?
Oh, you have to have a day off for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Because this is when I heard my appointment was at 2:30. I thought, oh, I'll just go to work because it was close to the office. I thought I'll just go straight from work. And I asked the doctor. I said, should I stay home for the day? And she's like, oh yeah, you definitely want to stay home for the day because you're basically at the toilet every 15 minutes.
Yeah, so you drank this stuff the morning of, like, you drank something the night before, and then you drank this other stuff the day of your actual surgery.
That's right.
Okay, so you're basically like crapping your pants until you walk into the OR.
Kind of. I mean, you're sort of, they tell you if you haven't reached a certain stage of color by a certain time of the day, that they say call them and they'll instruct you whether or not you might need to come earlier, and they'll try to speed up the process, or come now, we'll start. They do tell you that you need to reach a certain stage by a certain time of the day, or a couple hours, like a certain time before the procedure. Otherwise, they might need to take some other measures.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, okay, so I was pretty much finished in terms of what was called for with regard to this evacuation, we'll call it. And
and how? Okay, so before you go to the next stage, I just want to know, how urgent is it?
It's not. Yeah, I thought about that too before I went through it. I thought, is this going to be where I should literally sit on the toilet for 3 straight hours? Should I be no farther than 20 feet from the toilet? Like, is this going to be one of those you won't be able to control it when it comes things? No, it's just a feeling like, oh, I got to go, and then
you got to go.
You walk over and you go. So it's not quite like that.
Okay.
Anyway, so the time it was for me to go to the appointment, and yeah, getting there was no problem. I didn't feel like I had to go really while I was on my way there. It was about a half hour to get there by transit. And went and yeah, now keep in mind I'm in Japan, so this is
I can't believe you took transit, by the way. That's amazing. But
yeah. I think I did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. They said that transit would be okay going, but when you leave, not to, because you'd be under some drugs, so you shouldn't be really driving, or you got to be really careful with it because you'll be woozy and stuff. So
right.
So anyway, I went in and had to get dressed in this special gown, and got asked a few questions, and the Japanese language capability, or the English language capability, was fairly strong, but still there was, when you're getting a procedure like that, you probably would feel a little more comfortable if it was English as the native language that you're dealing with.
Right.
So there I went, and I didn't get put under.
Okay, yeah. So talk about that, because I know people who have been put under, and that was my general impression. And you had said that, well, we both know people who have been put under, but you said that you weren't put under.
No.
So what did they do?
No, they just put a needle in my vein, like intravenous into my vein, and
Like in your arm?
so I had to lay on the table. Like okay, so let me set the picture. So the door opens up to the room where I'm going to have the procedure, and there's a guy in a blue gown with a mask on and what look like safety goggles, and then another.
Well, you never know. There could be an accident.
Right, and then another guy at a computer terminal who kind of looked like he was the doctor, and then there was a woman with looked like a nurse, and I was told she was going to be the one giving me the drugs, and so, but I really don't know what to expect, and I didn't really read much on the procedure because I was in one of those I don't want to know too much.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I laid down on the table and I thought, oh man, the worst thing I want to do here, let's face it, is like shit all over the table.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
It was just this weird feeling. Like, and I'm like, I'd be so embarrassed, first of all. And it's, again, the English part, like, it's Japanese. It's like, am I going to be looked at as like this disgusting foreigner who can't control himself? And I tried to kind of ask questions, and like I said, I said, you know what, I think I might want to go to the bathroom before we start. Is that okay? And they sort of looked at me funny, like, well, why would you need to? That was how it felt anyway. And then I was worried, had they already started pumping the drugs in, maybe I wouldn't even be able to get up. And I asked, have you put the drugs in yet? And the nurse said, no. I said, is it okay if I go then? One more time, just
Yeah.
So I went, and I was in there for a little while, and of course there's like a knock at the door, like, are you okay? It's like, oh, like all I can think of is, I guess this isn't normal, that someone's got to maybe go one more time. And so I said, yep, just a minute. And then, but I just wanted to be sure we were done, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
So anyway.
Were you?
No, I mean, I'm really glad I went, let's put it that way. So
Right.
anyway, I had to wheel the little IV thing through the hall, like you see that.
Oh, man.
Squeak,
Yeah,
squeak,
yeah.
squeak, 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 squeak.
Yeah.
And back into the room, and
That's perfect.
feeling judged, of course, right? Feeling judged, and the guy with the blue goggles or whatever, he was gone, and maybe he had gone for a smoke break or something. And so I got back on the table and laid down. They said, okay, we're going to start giving you the drug now. And I'm the only thing I could think of was, okay, you're giving me this drug in my arm, but you're about to do a procedure that basically is going to be going up my butt. How is this going to make me not feel that you're shoving this meter-long like tube up my body?
By the way, if you had like crapped all over the table, I'm sure you would not have been the first person.
No.
Do you know how many procedures they've done? Like, I bet you it happens at least once a week. At least.
Yeah. I just didn't want to be another statistic.
Yeah, was it did the table have like a trough all the way around?
No, that was the good question. That was one of the things that I was kind of looking for. I was looking for this to be like a stainless steel type of table that was used to like goopy liquids falling on it, and no,
something you can easily just use the the Lysol spray and wipe it up.
Yeah, it was like a dentist kind of chair, but it wasn't like a seat. It was like a table that could go completely flat and stuff. And so I'm like, this doesn't look like something that gets dirty very often. So I lay down there, and he explains to me. He says, okay, well, basically he showed me on a picture of the body, like on a diagram, like where he was going to go in and where the tube was going to go up into.
A little chart.
Yeah, and he says, "Oh, this thing's it's a meter long," and of course, you just picture the ruler sticks that they used in class. Like you just imagine this thing is going to coil its way up into my body, and so back to that anesthetic. I thought, I mean, how is this going to make me not feel something going? I mean, you're not like injected in my colon, not in my arm. Yeah, so I had to lay on my side and it started. And yeah, it was weird. I mean, I think half of it was just the weird factor. It was just frickin' weird.
Okay, so just to go back for 1 second. So when the procedure starts, where are the other two people?
The woman was sort of like beside me, but not. She wouldn't have a view of the insertion, if you will.
What about Computer Man?
Computer Man was doing the insertion.
Okay,
And then,
so he was the doctor.
Yes, and Goggle Guy, I think he was in the background somewhere. I think he was like the one feeding the tube.
You sure he was? Was he taking a picture? Like maybe
I don't know.
Maybe he had the camera. He was putting it on YouTube.
Yeah, God. So I think he was just kind of the technician, like the helper, so making sure there was enough slack in the tube and stuff. So, so then he's going in, and I again, you kind of want details, but you don't, and you really don't know when has it started yet. How far are we into this thing? Like, I kept thinking as I'm laying there, feeling so weird and feeling like this thing's kind of crawling up into my body. I had this.
Could you feel anything?
Yeah, a little bit. It felt kind of like just like a little. I can't imagine a coat hanger going up like into the body.
Oh, that would hurt though. Jeez.
But no, maybe more like a thin wire. Thin wire.
Oh, still, that does not make it more appealing.
I don't know if this is helpful to people. So if anyone's getting too squeamish, just like shut this off and I'll just tell you, it turned out fine in the end. But all I could imagine was 10 minutes into this, the worst fear I had was we haven't, how far are we in? Like, where are we at with this? Oh, we haven't even begun.
Yeah, that would be my fear.
Yeah. It's always a nice thing. I've had other procedures where I had some little thing removed off my face, and the doctor was kind of poking at it, and then she left for like a minute, and I said, okay, so when are you going to start? And she says, oh, it's done. It's like, I love that. That's the best thing that can happen. Oh, we're already finished.
Yeah, that's the best.
So anyway, he's in there, and he's like, well, we're about half. Finally, he did give me a progress report. And I don't know if everybody else would want this, but for me, I was kind of looking for someone super casual and cracking a lot of jokes. I think this job would really suit, especially when you're doing it with guys. It really suited so are you following the Red Sox? You think they're going to win the World Series? You big baseball fan? Like, who's your favorite team?
Typical dentist questions.
Yeah, the procedure really called for that type of a bedside manner, and I was getting none of that. So he goes in and he says, do you want to see on the screen, on the camera? Like, so he slides this monitor over, and lo and behold, there's my colon, and he's going in through it, just like you would see in the videos, the medical videos, or, those science shows you'd watch. And he says, okay, I found a little polyp. Okay. Didn't really, he says, let's see it there. It's a little polyp, very small. Okay. Moves along a bit further. Says, there's another little polyp. Like, oh, okay. And then he says, okay, now we're at the very top of where we're going. We're not going in any further. It's like, okay. So then he starts coming back and he finds another polyp. He says, this one's a little bigger, 8 millimeters, I think it was. And he says, I want to remove it right now if we can. And I said, okay. I mean, I'd rather do it now than have to come back. And so he's there, and he's I'm laying on the ground. I'm staring at the wall, basically, while he's doing his stuff. And he says, do you have Japanese medical insurance?
Was he being funny?
No. No, not when the next line was, because it can be very expensive.
I'm sorry. So while he's in there digging around,
yep,
he starts asking you for medical insurance so he can remove polyps.
Correct.
Wow. All right.
Kind of made me realize what it's like to be in the U.S., a non-public healthcare system.
So he did remove them.
Yeah.
You do have Japanese medical insurance.
I have private medical insurance, so The
Okay.
only answer to this man's question, as far as I was concerned, was yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because how it was going to get paid for wasn't a concern to me when he's like 75% of the way into my body with these tools. And I said, worst case scenario, I'm dropping my Visa card down and paying for it, right? How expensive could it be, you might ask? But I didn't care. I said, I don't care what it is, and if it is or it isn't covered, it's getting done. So anyway, he did his thing. Out he goes, and then we went through the results after I sort of recovered for about half an hour, just in a nice little, looked like one of those massage chairs, those Japanese massage chairs. Sat in one of those for about half an hour, and then, yeah, he walked me through. He said, we'll have these looked at by a lab, and they'll give you the results in about a week. And if there's...
So
he wasn't overly concerned. He wasn't overly concerned.
How many polyps did he take off? Or cut?
3.
Or whatever.
Three.
Take out?
3. 2 very
Okay.
small ones, like a 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters, and then one that was 1
Millimeters.
1 millimeter.
Yeah, okay. Centimeters, jeez.
Yeah, so he took them out, said in his mind it looked okay. But the things he was in there to look at, like Crohn's disease and other things that could have been maybe the reasons for my ailments, he didn't see any evidence of anything. So the good news was we don't see any reason for your pain. The good news is we found these polyps and removed them. The bad news is we don't see any reasons for your pain, and we can't really give you any help for that yet. So, yeah. So I went in, fast forward a week and a half later, I went in, and the doctor told me, you're fine, everything looks okay. Now we just have to look at what's causing this discomfort for you. It's nothing to do with what we would have found in a colonoscopy, so now it's time to move on to the next step, which is figure it out.
Right. Is it diet? Is it stress? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it's a combination of a number of different things. Yeah. So.
In her mind, it's probably stress related, possibly diet related. So we're now just looking at, well, what do we do? Maybe I have to say, with the way that we have Google, Dr. Google at our disposal, it's both a blessing and a curse. And I'll say there were things I was teaching her about. Like there were some, what I think, fairly basic medicine.
That's not something you want to hear.
No, but I think it's probably more common than you think. I said, have you heard about leaky gut syndrome? Say, no. And I think some of it was the language translation. She could speak English, but it wasn't her first language. So have you ever heard of a FODMAP? Like, there's different foods can affect, ferment in the body in certain ways. She had to look it up. She's like, no, I don't know anything about this. And after I went and researched it a little more, I read there's not a lot of medical consensus around some of the things that go on with the gut. The gut's a funny beast. It's got its own brain in it.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with Francis about this, and there's I don't know which doctor it is, but maybe it was who was the one that wrote the doctor was it the there's a doctor mantra. Hippocrate.
Do no harm, you mean? The mantras do no harm?
Yeah, that one. But it's
Hippocrates or
it's something like that. Yeah.
Hippocrates law or something.
Yeah. So that doctor, I think, at some point said something about how all disease starts in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
Or the origin of all disease is in the gut.
Yep.
And that's why I think that there's this huge push nowadays for healthier diet, lots of more vegetables, and then this huge craze where everybody is taking probiotics.
Yeah.
And
yes,
to fill the gut with proper bacteria, because the diets that Western people eat is really not that good. I mean, we've talked about this. So our diet is backwards. We fill our plates with more meat and starches and things like that, and very, very little vegetables. And it should be basically 3/4 vegetables, and then you can throw a little meat in there for something. But we don't eat properly.
So it's the Hippocratic Oath.
That's the one.
one of the most widely known of Greek medical texts. It requires a new physician to swear by a number of healing gods to uphold specific ethical standards. One of them is do no harm.
Right.
First, do no harm. That's what it is. First, do no harm. Latin is primum non nocere, I think.
So who was the doctor or doctors that came up with that?
Well, I think it goes back, let's see, it's an oath historically taken by physicians. It's in its original form, it requires a new physician to swear by it. The Greek physician Hippocrates from 460 to 370 BC is the author of the oath. Hippocrates is often called the father of medicine in Western culture.
There you go.
So it goes back to 400 BC, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
Yep.
So that's it. I'm kind of still in a little bit of a limbo with I'm taking probiotics, and I've gone. You really are your own advocate, right? Like, you go to these doctors, and it's not like you have like a concierge or an attendant that can just hang out with you through your life and follow you to different doctors and take notes with you and say, well, you went here, let's go over there. It's really just, you just get pushed to one doctor. If they can't figure it out, you or they, but often you, have to decide, where do you go next?
Yep. That's absolutely true.
And it's okay.
I think that's frustrating for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I mean, when I first started having these problems, I had suggested a colonoscopy right away, and the doctor said, well, no, that your symptoms don't indicate anything to do with needing, like, with what you would. Let's start with other things. Let's go get your blood tested. Let's look at your urine. Let's look at, a bunch of other different things. So, yeah, because I had once heard there's something called Cleveland Clinic. They're these medical these executive hospitals or executive clinics where they'll send like CEOs for companies to get full tests on like everything. It's like a whole day of procedures, and it's designed to try to catch stuff. And it's very opposite to the way most doctors or hospitals work these days. Doctors don't run full scans on everything. There's a name for it. It's like elimination. They start with basic steps, and they hope they'll find it at a certain point, but they don't just, it's not like putting a diagnostic machine up to you like the way they might with a car and then just look at all the charts, because you get things like false positives and things that can cause more trouble. So the typical style of medicine in the Western style is to go step by step, rule out stuff, and then kind of work backwards from there.
Okay, so in the end, everything turned out okay, which is good.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I don't feel any pain right now down there. So I don't know. Maybe somehow having
When did you start taking probiotics?
I started taking
before or after?
a while back, maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, and then kind of went off and on. Then wasn't very consistent with it. So she gave me some probiotics. This doctor, the one that I had went to see about the colonoscopy, she gave me like some prescribed probiotics, which I'm mostly good at taking. But it's getting older. I guess it's part of the deal.
I guess. I mean, I still feel like I used to feel like I was in my 20s, and now I don't. But I don't feel like I'm, approaching 50. Like, I don't feel like I'm in my late 40s. I still feel like I'm maybe in my 30s still. I don't know.
That's good.
What about you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, what does feeling like you're 50 mean or 40? The only thing you use is a reference to looking at older people. Like when you were 20 and you looked at your dad and said, oh, he's 50. I wonder what it feels like to be 50. Or now my dad's 77. Like, what does it feel like to be 77? It's so hard to know what 77 feels like when the only point of reference you have is when you're actually 77,
Yep, you're absolutely right. I got nothing to say to that.
Wouldn't it be interesting though if and I don't know, it might be a bad thing. Can you imagine if someone could hook something up to your body and said, "Okay, feel your present state for a moment. Just sit there. Now we're going to switch the electrodes in your body," or however they would do this, and say, "We're now going to change it to what your body felt like when you were 30."
Oh my God. That would feel amazing.
Wouldn't that be weird?
It would feel amazing. God, I know for a fact that my energy level is not the same as it was when I was 30.
Wouldn't that be weird?
It's different. Yeah,
Imagine,
it would be very weird.
Imagine then they could say, "Okay, and you can get up. You get an hour to be 30. Go outside, go be 30 for an hour. And then you come back, and then they say, now wait till you feel this. Now you're going to 20.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be wild?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody wants the fountain of youth, right? I mean, that's why the health industry is so popular and makes so much money. If you can find something in that niche, it's one of those industries that will never, I think it will never fail. There will never be a time in history when everyone goes, "Yeah, I'm not really interested in health or, improving my current state of being." Like even when you're in your 20s, you still want to feel, you wake up, there are mornings you feel like, "Oh my gosh, I feel horrible. I don't want to continue today." Right? You want to be able to find that extra level of energy, right? So it'll never go away. That the pursuit of feeling younger will never go away.
Well, I do think there's some people that are content to just not want to improve. Maybe deep down they do. There's a little sliver, but there's plenty of people that just
I was just going to say
that are content to just be 400 pounds and not do anything with themselves. I think there are certain.
I think deep down, I think they want to change that.
Yeah. Well, that's where maybe virtual reality, I think, or augmented reality could have a lot of potential. Like, take somebody who's 400 pounds, slap a pair of goggles on them or a headset, and I'm talking when it could get really advanced, pumping different smells into the air and changing the temperature of the room and really bringing someone into an immersive experience. Maybe having them in some type of a body thing, that like anti-gravity type thing that would allow them to feel, if you lost,
experience what it would be if you lost 200 pounds.
You would feel cooler.
Yeah.
You would feel lighter. The smells would be different. Like, it would just be this super different feeling that could maybe inject. And this is, I think, a topic for another episode, but I really think the virtual reality thing has potential in so many different areas, whether it's health, or
huge
confidence levels. Imagine being able to immerse somebody in a world where they are confident and feeling very sure of themselves. And there's probably some weird Black Mirror pitfall to this, maybe, like a Twilight Zone-ish sort of thing. But I think part of the problem is, like, they'll say, you'll hear the expression, fake it till you make it, or self-affirmations. Imagine where virtual reality could take the self-affirmation world. Look at the mirror. That's, I know I'm thin, just whatever your typical self-affirmations are. Imagine being able to look into what looks like a mirror and it's you 30 pounds lighter. The type of visual motivation and injection that could give you, maybe every morning when you're deciding, do I feel like running today? Do I feel like running today? Imagine you could stand in front of a mirror that says, this is what you will look like if you get up and run today, and again tomorrow or whatever. I think there's so much potential there.
Yes, huge. Again, though, this goes back to the whole health industry. There's an infinite number of ways that you could go with this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fantastic. So, the funniest thought just kind of crossed my mind while you were talking about this colonoscopy, and I was just thinking, could you imagine trying to explain this to your 5-year-old self? Can you imagine if you had the opportunity to turn back time just for a second and and just being able to say, to 5-year-old Clark, by the way, when you're 47 years old, you're going to undergo this procedure. Well, what kind of procedure? Well, it starts like this, and then just walk yourself through it. I'd love to see the face of that 5-year-old.
Well, remember the commercial, that one with the. I think there's a lot in that, because you've seen commercials where they sort of do the preventative. Either you could take it like cigarettes with pictures of like cancerous lungs or cancerous livers or cancerous body parts or throats, and there's a little bit of the motivates people maybe to stay away from it. There was that commercial once where it's somebody smoking, and every time they're inhaling, all these like veins appear in their face. I don't know if you ever remember that.
I do not remember that at all.
Yeah, I'll see if I can dig it up. But even something like, if you continue this lifestyle, imagine being able to go into a virtual reality where you're laying on a table while they're doing open heart surgery on you or something.
Oh, yeah.
Scary.
Yeah. No,
wild.
Fantastic.
Wild.
That kind of stuff would be great. Yeah.
Okay, are we going to end on anything somewhat bubbly? Do you have anything there, or should we...
I'm trying to... I don't know. No, I mean, I like this discussion. I think it was good. It was. I tried to throw a little bit of humor into it, and so did you. I mean, it's an important topic, for men. I know it affects women as well, but I think there's sort of a little bit of a double whammy with men. I think we're more susceptible to colon cancer. I don't know that for sure. I don't have an actual statistic in front of me.
Yeah.
But I know we are also definitely biologically the only ones capable of being affected by prostate cancer, which I know they also check when you're in there. So it's an important topic. We have to talk about it. And I think over the years, people have become less and less, before it was something you didn't talk about. People just didn't talk about colon cancer or having an invasive procedure where they stuck a camera up there and looked around. Whereas now, you can have this conversation in a pub and strangers will join in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I had one of those the other day. It's very common, and I think people are very concerned about it because even though it's a slower moving cancer, it is still a killer. And, if you catch it early, you're fine. If you catch it too late, I mean, you're effed.
Yeah.
You're not coming back, right? So, it's a serious topic. It's good to talk about, and not everything has to be funny. So, I don't know. I don't think we don't have to end on a light note or a funny note. I think this was informative, and informative is good.
Well, I'll say one thing, that I was flipping through Facebook the other day, and a friend of mine, he took a picture of himself with his wife on the Seine River. And
could you see one of the toilets?
I asked him, I shot him a note. I haven't looked to see if he's responded yet, but I did write, did you see any urinoirs there?
Oh, man. That is awesome. If I ever make it over there, I've got to find. I totally have to take piss in one.
The search for the urinoir.